Everybody, welcome to week 3 of the Bark Tank Podcast. I'm your host, humble host, Andrew Siciliano, this guy that calls the Browns games on the radio, the great Nathan Zagura and Gerard Cherry down to the sideline. Thank you for being here for week number three of our podcast, that is. Be sure to like and subscribe and do all those things on the YouTube, the Spotifys, the Apples, however you watch or consume this show, or the Browns app, and tell your friends and your neighbors and your kids as well. Tell them that it was another tough one for the Browns. I've always said I'm not going to sugarcoat this as I do this show from my home office after the game, after getting back home. There really is no sugarcoating about it. There was another game in which in the fourth quarter the Browns had a shot marching down the field, in this case to tie the game. Obviously, Dustin Hopkins had missed a field goal. You're not going to make all the long ones every week. He had missed one earlier. If he had hit that field goal, then maybe they would have had a chance to take in the lead, but that was not the case. Once again, as we saw against the Giants, as we saw against the Raiders, and then here as we saw against the Eagles, this against a team much better than those other two I just mentioned, the Browns put themselves in position in the fourth quarter to do something, to show us something, to give us something. And they got down inside the red zone, inside the 5, and they were not able to get it. Now, in some cases, you tip your cap to Nolan Smith, who made a good play, or Cooper DeJean, who made a good play and prevented the Browns from getting around the edge and getting in. In other instances, you say you can't keep getting false start penalties, whether it's Zach Zinner or whether it's Jed Wills. Because when you get inside the 5 and then you back up and then you back up and then you back up, it's the same movie. I'm not a yeller. I don't do a screaming head show. I'm not telling you something you don't know. It's as frustrating for us as it is for you. And you can hear it in the sound of my voice and Nathan's voice and Gerard's voice on the sideline, the frustration and the not again. We're with you. We see the same things. And I can tell you that the Browns know this as well. It's not as if they don't care. Fans often go, well, I care more about this than you do, clearly, because you're not performing. Maybe you don't take it as seriously as I do. I wait all week for Sunday, and then I get let down and I get disappointed. You guys must not feel the same way about your preparation in your week, and then it shows on Sunday. That is not the case. They do care, and they do work hard. It just isn't happening, and that's what's so frustrating, is what is going to change. If you're looking for a quarterback change right now, it's not going to happen. Kevin Stefanski said on Monday that he does believe that Deshaun Watson gives the Browns their best chance to win. Second half Deshaun Watson, I would agree. Fourth quarter Deshaun Watson this week, I would certainly agree. And it is going to be Deshaun Watson. It's not going to be Jameis Winston. Many of you have asked for Dorian Thompson-Robinson. It's not going to be DTR either. Had a chance to speak to DTR before the game yesterday. Nothing about, are you getting ready to play? Nothing like that. Just small talk. He is getting ready. He is working hard. He is waiting for a shot. Don't know that shot is going to come. Deshaun Watson is the Browns quarterback. And look, if you can bottle the explosive to Jerry Jeudy on that final drive, right? If you can bottle some of the nice runs that Pierre Strong had, and I'm a big Pierre Strong fan, if you can string those together, then yes, this can be a not just functional offense, which is what you're hoping for, but this could be a good offense. But you have too many plays like the opening possession of the game, the play on which Nick Harris got hurt. Just feel, what a punch in the gut for Nick, man. Like anytime it seems like he has the job, he gets hurt through no fault of his own. Like bottom of the pile, you get rolled up on. It happened in Jacksonville in that preseason game when it's finally his job. It's his job. He waited his turn, and then he gets hurt. But then he comes back. He's in there. He's played well when you've had all the offensive line shuffling, and he's had to play here or there. I love him as a fullback as well. I love to see Nick Harris come in motion, but he opening possession, third play. Anyway, if you go to that play, you hit Amari there. Look, was the ball high? Yes, Deshaun would tell you that. Was it catchable? Yes, Amari would tell you that. But if you hit that He cuts it upfield. He's got a lane. That's an explosive right then and there, and you get something going early, first possession of the game. But you didn't. And it's all those death by 1,000 paper cuts. And then here you are. I really did believe, and don't say that I'm naive or don't say that I'm just hoping for things that can't possibly happen because they can't. I really did believe that the Browns could find a way to win this game because there's enough talent. Obviously, you had to play better. But they could win this game against an Eagles team that hadn't been playing well. Yes, was coming off a bye and getting healthy. But that I could tell you, when it was 10-10 at the half, the Boo Birds were loud. That building thought doom was coming in Philadelphia. You saw Nick Sirianni, John, with fans there. John with Denzel Ward even early in the game on the first quarter on a deep shot there. It looked as if he had a pick. Ball hit the ground, battling with Devontae Smith. That building was ready to turn. And then it didn't. I really thought that if the Browns could win that game, then coming back home this week at 2-4, with everything going on this weekend, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, guards in the ALCS, the energy, and then Nick Chubb coming out of that tunnel on Sunday, I thought it would be a turning point. That said, I still think Nick Chubb coming out of that tunnel on Sunday, which is what we all expect. Nothing set in stone, but it's what we all expect. I really thought that would be the moment that helped change the season. It still can be the moment that helps change the season. But Batman can't save the city on his own. We know that. You put up the bat signal, it's going to be answered. But Batman needs help from everyone else in Gotham to save the city. Look, Bengals are beatable, friends. Bengals defense, despite the fact that it finally got healthy and it played well against the Giants, can give up big plays. On the ground, we saw that from both Daniel Jones and Tyrone Tracy, and through the air. So the Bengals are beatable. The Browns have their track record against Joe Burrow. We saw what happened week 1 last year, which seems like an eternity ago. They can do this, and it can be a turning point. But it's got to be a turning point to get a winning streak going with this 3-game homestand with the Bengals, the Ravens, the Chargers. Okay? You can turn your season around at home. I'm not being delusional here. It's one win at a time. It's 1 week at a time. It's how you stay sane in this league. Truly, I do mean this, is you can't look ahead. You can only look at the games in front of you. What else happened in Philadelphia? Good trip, good friends, good town, bad airport, things like that. It was a beautiful afternoon. Thought the Browns could get a win. They could not. So hopefully come back home, and they need the energy from you guys. We know that. It's going to be a great weekend all throughout downtown Cleveland and Northeast Ohio. Bring that energy back to the building because they feed off that energy. I'm not trying to be a cheerleader, not trying to be delusional here, but believe me, it helps everyone in the building. You know what? Us up in the booth as well, to be honest with you. Let's give some flowers, if we could, to a couple of guys that truly do need some special appreciation here. And we have to start with Rodney McLeod. Let's take aside the cynicism of, he's tied for the team lead in touchdowns with 2, tied with Amari Cooper. And let's praise Rodney McLeod for what he is doing. He is 34 years old. Right. I mean, he's much younger than me, but he's 34 years old. We know this is his last season. He has a bright future in broadcasting, already doing it around town, and he's done other stuff. He's been at NFL Network with us when I was still there doing broadcast boot camp. He's got a bright future in broadcasting. He's 34 years old, and because of the injuries, Grant Delpit still in concussion protocol as of Monday. Ronnie Hickman couldn't go with the ankle injury. Obviously, we know Juan Thornhill is still out. He had the calf that happened week 1. Rodney McLeod didn't come off the field Sunday. He played every single defensive snap, 62 snaps, 100% at 34 years old, and 13 special team snaps, including the scoop and score on the Myles Garrett Superman play. We've now seen Myles do it twice. Everybody's comparing it to the one in Indy. Yes, that's legit from last year. Others are comparing it ignorantly, I would add, to what Isaiah Simmons did for the Giants in Seattle week number 5. Go back and look at that. Isaiah Simmons was standing. It was a great play. Go back and look at Miles. Okay? He was down on the line, and he jumped over the line basically from his knees. He was down at a 4-point stance and jumped over the line. It might be the single most impressive play you will see the entirety of the football season. Myles Garrett jumped over the line with his hands down, guys. And then Rodney McLeod picked it up, and he scored. I don't know where this team would be without Rodney McLeod. Don't come back at me. The record is. I know what the record is. But that guy's amazing. And a tip of the cap to Rodney McLeod. Also a tip of the cap to Joel Bitonio, career game 150. The only other Browns who have done that at the guard position, the great Hall of Famer, one of my dad's favorite players, Gene Hickerson, and Robert Jackson as well. So good job, Joel Bitonio. He is now 2 behind Charlie Hewlett, who is unfortunately unable to go. He played 152 games. He had to be put on IR this week. But it opened the door for Rex Sunahara, and he needs to be called out as well. Bay Village, Rex Sunahara, he's a rocket, and he finally got his chance to play for his hometown team. He's going to get a chance to do it again this week as the Browns come back home. He had a clean day as the long snapper. Tip of the cap to Rex. Big dude, 6'6", went out there. You never call out the long snapper unless he makes a mistake, but he deserves a tip of the cap here for finally getting his chance. Bounce around the NFL, was here for the preseason. You hate to see him in there at Charlie Hewlett's expense, but Rex Sunahara, well done, man, in your first regular season game, finally in the NFL. And, you know what? Pierre Strong also deserves a little bit of credit. Team high 78 yards. We saw some flashes last year. Nathan and I, big Pierre Strong fans up in the booth. I know he had some ball security issues last year. We have not seen those this year. He's got some burst. He's got some wiggle. You get him in the outside zone game, which was not what they were running. A lot of mid-zone on Sunday. But you get him outside, you get him on the perimeter. There's a reason he's your kickoff return guy. He's got something. Team high 78 yards, again, and a big reason that in the fourth quarter they made it in to the red zone. Like to see him get a little more action. And with Jerome Ford now nursing a hamstring injury that Kevin Stefanski calls week to week, you may get that. It looks like it will be a Strong, Foreman, Chubb backfield coming up on Sunday as the Browns get back to Huntington Bank Field, and hopefully you get back there to see them as well. All right, let's move forward and look ahead to Week 7. And we're going to have a guest for the first time ever on this brand new show, The Bark Tank. Our very first guest. It's quite an honor, honestly. Quite an honor to have this guy, a good friend, on the program, a fellow Syracuse alum, the hardest working man in the entire state of Ohio. He is the voice of the Cincinnati Bengals. He is the great Dan Hoard. Few things get you more excited than the Battle of Ohio with the Bengals coming to town and Tribe Called Quest. Hi there, Dan Hoard, voice of the Bengals, and Dave Matthews Band going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame the night before the ALCS in town and the Battle of Ohio. Is this going to be your best Ohio weekend ever? When the Bengals come to town.
Yeah, I've had some good ones, so that's setting the bar pretty high. If the University of Cincinnati beats Arizona State on Saturday and then all of that other stuff that you mentioned, then yes, it has a chance.
All right, let's get this out of the way first about your crazy travel schedule. First of all, I'm happy you're taking time to join because you are that busy. Thank you for that. I thought my travel schedule was nuts when I had a couple of NBC games early in the season in September. You do the Bearcats every week. Like, how is your world right now?
My world is fantastic. The Bearcats are playing well. They're 4-0. They could be very easily 6-0. They've lost 2 games by a combined total of 4 points to 2 teams that are 11-1. So it's been a good year for the University of Cincinnati. And travel-wise, it's mostly worked out okay. This past weekend, The Bearcats played UCF, that's in Orlando. I couldn't get from Orlando to New York on Saturday night, so I took a 6 a.m. flight to New York for the Bengals Sunday night game. But let me just give you this quick story because I'm still on a high from this happening. All right. I got up at 4:10, hopped in the shower, got on a hotel shuttle at 4:30, made it through security, grabbed a cup of coffee, and was at the gate at 4:50.
Wow.
40 minutes to do all of that. It's the all-time course record. It was the Usain Bolt experience of travel.
That is amazing. And I know the
It's
people at home are
incredible.
going, is this what you people talk about? Yes, this is what we actually do talk about. Real quick, a couple of weeks ago, I had Ohio State, Michigan State in East Lansing, a late evening kick, 7:30 kick on NBC. Slept in East Lansing, got up at 4, made the 90-mile drive to the
Perfect.
Detroit airport, was double booked on 2 flights that morning to Vegas. But as some people may know, in Detroit, 2 different terminals. You have to go outside security to get from one to the other and take a bus. Not like you can't even walk. Like, you actually have to take a bus like 2 miles to the other terminal. And then it was first thing that might have left, I got on it. And then we canceled the other one while I was on the runway to make sure you don't get charged for 2 tickets, but didn't do it until you're actually barreling down the runway because you're never certain. And then made
Yes.
it to Vegas for the 125 Pacific kick. That was the most anxiety I've had in a long, long time. I'm happy you made it, Dan.
Big
And
fan of the double booking then
yes.
cancel move. I've done that move many times. I'm impressed. I thought that was kind of my own signature move. So
It's
you figured it out. Well done.
figured it out with a tip from JB Long, voice of the Rams, who that weekend did 3 games in
Ooh.
3 cities, a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 2 different conferences, and then the NFL game on Sunday. JB Long for the win. And the Bengals for the win as well. A tough-fought victory Sunday evening under the bright lights against the Giants at MetLife Stadium with new leading rusher Joe Burrow, Dan, leading the charge. Before I ask you about his wrist and the flexing and all of that the NBC cameras caught both before and during the game, is he now weapon number 1 for the Bengals rushing attack?
No, I doubt that will ever happen again. It's interesting. This is the 57th year that the Bengals have been in existence. They have had one 100-yard rushing performance by a quarterback in their history. 1970, Virgil Carter ran for a buck 10. No Bengals quarterback has done it since. Joe Burrow had 50 some rushing yards in the first quarter last night against the Giants. So I thought maybe there was a chance I would pull out that nugget, but he did not add many rushing yards to his total.
In all seriousness, I know he's not the number 1 rushing guy. It's likely Chase Brown, who atoned for his fumble late and then got in the end zone. How is Burrow's hand? Because is it not a bit concerning that week 6 we still see those shots of him on the sideline trying to flex that wrist out?
No, it's not a concern as far as I'm concerned. I haven't seen the updated stats, but prior to the game last night, he led the NFL in passer rating. He was number 1 in touchdown passes. He was second in completion percentage. So in week 1, when he did play poorly, the TV cameras caught a shot of him picking up a water bottle, and it became water bottle gate in Cincinnati. People tried to gauge if it was normal how he was lifting a water bottle. He put that to rest by stringing together 4 fantastic performances back to back to back to back. So, he's still being treated after having a serious wrist procedure in the offseason. He says he flexes it to just make sure that it's warmed up and good to go. But you would certainly not see anything in his performance that would make you think that that's a concern in any way.
No, you don't. He looks totally fine. And not to bring myself into it, but I will. I had a neck thing years ago, and still to this day, I kind of
Yeah.
stretch my neck out and try to pop it, even though I have no discomfort. I'm thankful for that. Is it almost like a mental tick? Maybe just like to see it's still there, like I'm still good. I was doing this for months during rehab. I'm still doing this almost subconsciously.
I don't know if it's a mental tick. I mean, maybe he's been instructed by the medical staff, the therapist, to just keep it loose and warmed up. He still gets treated for it. He's on the injury report every week, but he has been a full participant at practice for every single practice they've had. He made it through training camp. So, again, I don't think it's an issue. He said last week in a news conference that the ball still doesn't always spin exactly the way he would like it to. But if this is Joe Burrow at less than 100%, completing more than 70% of his throws with a passer rating over 100 and, uh, you know, 12 touchdown passes and two interceptions for the season, I think we can live with whatever feeling that still exists in his wrist.
Yeah, right. And we had the numbers last week that he had the best numbers of any 1-4 quarterback ever. Basically, the Bengals' record was 1-4 before getting that win on Sunday night, and his numbers through that 5-game stretch were utterly fantastic, and he was able to do it again on Sunday night. Dan, 35,000-foot view here of the Bengals now after that victory. How badly did they need it as they get ready to come to a place where, I always joke with my friends who are Bengals fans, the Browns own Joe Burrow, which is not exactly the case, but we know what happened up here last year. Not exactly great weather, but the Browns have had his number at times.
Yeah, the Browns have been his kryptonite more than any other NFL team. Now, when you take all of his statistics against Cleveland, some of that is from the beginning of his NFL career when the team was bad. He played well and the Bengals still lost because they were no good. But even more recently, when the Bengals have been good, the Browns have been able to beat him. So, the big picture for the Bengals right now is that the defense finally played well on Sunday night. They held the Giants to 7 points, and the Bengals are finally healthy on their defensive line. That's the story of this season to date. They started 1-4 because they've been banged up front. In the Sunday night game against the Giants, they had 8 defensive linemen that were able to take 20 or more snaps. So they finally got their best players in there, and they were finally able to rotate fresh bodies in. The result was a really good defensive performance, and they hope that continues because other than the Giants game and the season opener against the Patriots, the offense has been spectacular.
The offense has been obviously spectacular, and we saw what Jamar Chase and what T. Higgins, when they are fully up and operational and working together, can do. Do the Bengals, and maybe this is a little too granular here for early in the week, do the Bengals just assume Jim Schwartz is going to play man and then, hey, let's, Joe Burrow, he's going to stand back there and have a chance to eat? I mean, what do the Bengals see? And again, I know it's early in the week in a 1-5 Browns team.
Well, the Bengals have the utmost respect for Jim Schwartz and the Browns defense based on how they played against it last year. I mean, in the season finale, that doesn't really count because Cleveland rested everybody before the playoffs. But
the Jeff Driscoll grudge match.
Indeed. But in the season opener last year, I think, if memory serves, the Bengals had 6 first downs in that game. They have 6 first downs on some drives when the offense is functioning well. So that was the toughest struggle that the Cincinnati offense had in any game last season. They scored 3 points and couldn't move the ball. So they've got to prove that they can protect Joe against Myles Garrett and company and try to allow him to get the ball to Cincinnati's always impressive list of weapons.
Including now Andre Yoshivash from Princeton, second-year guy who had a huge catch, toe tap on the sideline to help get the Bengals a victory in New York on Sunday night. He is a Syracuse legend. He is the voice of the Bengals. He's a good friend, and I appreciate Dan Hoard jumping through hoops here to get this done technically early in the week here before heading to Cleveland coming up this weekend. Dan, always appreciate it, man. Look forward to seeing you at Huntington Bank Field coming up for Week 7.
Sounds good, Andrew. Thanks for having me on.
Dan Hoard, everybody, the voice of the Cincinnati Bengals. He will be in town as the Bengals will be in town coming up Sunday, Huntington Bank Field. Hope to see you there. Nathan, Gerard, we all hope to see you there. Listen, it is the first of 3 games at home in a row. Like I said earlier, downtown's going to be rocking truly on Saturday and on Sunday. You got the ALCS, you got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and you got the Browns. You got Nick Chubb back in the building. Batman coming back, hopefully to save everything. Be there, please. Be loud, please. Believe me, the team feeds on it, off it, and you know what? We feed off it as well up in the booth. It's great to see everyone down below us in the lower deck turning around and waving hi and saying hi and making noise. I love that. We love that. Be there. Do that. And we'll see you on Sunday. Thanks for listening and watching The Bark Tank. Everybody, episode 3. We'll do this again after the win over the Bengals. I'm Andrew Siciliano. So long.